get more Paul. So
All right.
that's a good reason to donate some money.
So, here we go.
All right. All right, let me just think here. All right. Language is very complex. We use it to talk to people, talk to each other, write things down, make orders at fast food restaurants. But there are so many languages. How to choose which one is best? Well, there was a time when there was only one language. That language was known as French, and those people speaking it were known as Francophone, because that's what the word French was in French, was Francophone. It all started in 1987. Before that, everyone just spoke nothing. Nobody spoke anything. They just kind of looked at each other and made suggestive eye gestures. They're like. In 1987, they first came up with this idea that maybe we could actually talk to each other, and it was at the Dark Star Brewery where this happened. Can we bring it? It would be nice if we could bring it up so that people could see where we're going with the Wikipedia.
So it would have to be Thomas that brought it up.
I don't know how that would work though.
Oh,
anyway.
We could do it as like a YouTube thing, so it's a picture-in-picture. So
Yeah.
he would just go to a Wikipedia article and put it in there. Thomas can figure that out.
Wait, I like that better because
I'd be the one picking the links, though.
You're just hitting random article.
then people can actually see where I'm going.
But you won't be able to read.
It's pretty small.
That's true too.
All you need is the title, really, though, right?
No, he's pulling facts from it.
I'm using words that I can read occasionally.
All right. Well, we'll do this,
All right.
and I'll quickly. I think just go with this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was the Dark Star Brewery where the Francophone or the French language was first invented, because everyone was trying to order beer at the brewery, and there's only so much nuance that you can give with just wiggling your eyebrows and being like. And people would keep getting the wrong type of beer when they would order stuff, and so they eventually had to come up with a way of speaking, and soon it evolved past just ordering beer, and eventually you could order other things. You could order wine, and you could order little pretzels with your beer, and you could order whole meals. And then they started thinking that maybe we could, while we're drinking this stuff and eating this stuff, maybe we could communicate with each other. And so eventually it really came down to I don't even know how to pronounce it. Maren, which you may of course know is the German name for Moravia, but it was a small community between Montsburg and Westburg, where the French language was really first developed. Which may seem strange that it was in Germany that it was developed, but it was a very different time and a very different place back in 1987 when this was all happening. Now, originally, of course, there weren't that many people who could speak this language who were Francophone. In fact, the entire population of this place was only 253 people. So when you only have 253 people to talk to, you don't actually need that many. You know everybody that you're talking to. You don't need that many different words. But eventually, things had to expand, and so eventually things expanded to. But not very much. And a man from Moravia made his way from there to Montu Nui, one of the largest of the islands in Easter Island. In the chain, one of the largest of 3 inlets just south of Easter Island. And he came to this inlet, and he came with this new idea that you could speak languages, and they were not very interested because they were building large Easter Island statues. And they were like, we don't need language. We've got these big statues. Except, of course, they didn't say that because they didn't have language. But they showed that with their actions and their building of giant statues. Because the statues didn't talk. So they're like, obviously, the statue doesn't talk, so obviously we don't need to talk.
You're doing great, Cap. You got it.
You got this.
Well, things got desperate. Because eventually these people, there was only 163 people here. And they were concerned that their language would not spread as far as they were hoped. And so they developed the M4 missile. Which was developed, it was developed, amazingly developed, and it was a submarine-launched missile, which is a lot of foresight because submarines had also not been invented at the time. And so they first invented this missile, and they were like, we need some way to fire this missile. But it only fires underwater. And so they tried it with guys with little scuba gear underwater to fire it, but it didn't work. And so eventually they actually built a submarine and put a missile in and put the missile in.
I'll give you a new one. I'll give you a new one.
But as you may know, I mean, as we're all standing here and not speaking French,
Yeah.
the plan of this small German town that spoke French and was Francophone did not succeed.
Non.
No, the M4 missile was a failure. And the reason for that was, surprisingly enough, Stenothrodidae
What?
family of freshwater snails. They're very small snails with gills, but they got clogged into the system.
Wait, of the submarine?
Yeah, the submarine.
So these were
and
freshwater
missile.
submarines?
Yes.
Okay.
Freshwater missiles.
The country, see, if you had been paying attention,
I'm sorry.
you would have known
Of
that the city was landlocked.
Of course.
And so it was actually
course
a
they developed
submarine.
submarines.
It was a submarine in a lake. And so that's why the French eat snails. Thank you, chat.
Wait, close this out.
Perfect.
No, that was close.
That was as close.
And so the next time you think you know all about something, like for instance, the concept of being Francophone, remember, you may not know the whole story. And it may involve, in fact, places that are completely desperate from each other that you might think not actually be related at all. But that's how it happens. The French language and the first Francophones came about in 1987 in a small town in Germany, where they also invented the freshwater submarine and the M4 missile, but were luckily thwarted by freshwater snails. And that's the whole story.
And I want to see you make that into a real whole story following that chain.